And I think that that's right. And that is what I would really kind of bulk put the tag on of gossip. Verbal abuse is a little bit harsher, different thing.
Yes.
But it's very prevalent. But gossip, it's so mindless. And like you said, we have so much different social media. A lot of times they'll talk about, bullying, yes, which happens a lot. But really, gossip is a form of bullying, if you ask me. And
it is.
I've been invited a lot as a motivational speaker to speak with different groups of students and talk about, gossip and bullying and verbal abuse and all of those challenging things, and presenting that, you can call people on those things and do it in a way that keeps you safe and is effective. And the other thing that I talk about that is really important to me, Eleanor, and a lot of really brilliant people, I should say besides me, that sounds funny, but anyway, a lot of brilliant people agree with me that repression, worrying and repressing our expression is the primary killer of our creativity. And conversely, freedom of expression is one of the most wonderful contributors to living a highly creative life.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
No, you're right. And let me ask you something. You don't have to, of course, divulge any names, but when you received a notification that somebody wanted you to send a verbal abuse out, how did that person, how was that brought to you? Was it through a school? Was it about a child, a parent?
And sometimes people will call me on the phone and discuss it with me. They can look on my website under Honesty Letters, and they can see the example of the poem that I clearly have listed there that a lot of people use. And again, some of the school districts are familiar with what it is that I do, and the word is starting to spread. And they really want to empower these kids and point them in the right direction, and they know what the challenges are, and they're looking for solutions.
And cyberbullying is another big issue that we have. I mean, I think the rise on young children that are committing suicide due to cyberbullying and, children that are just telling other children, just kill yourself. You're so ugly, you're so fat, you're so skinny, or you're whatever the situation is. It really does need to be addressed. And I do a lot of work with children, and I've been an educator most of my life, and it's very important. I mean, it's just very important to know how words can be so hurtful. And I think that's where you kind of come in with all of that. You really do. You help out a generation of people that have a tendency to be very harsh with their words. And I think it's important to get that words out to younger children. Let them know what they say, how it affects another person. Very important.
Yes, I totally agree, sweetheart. And, one of the nice things about anonymous expressions that I have learned and that I'm sharing with other people is that the whole idea is to give it a universal voice. So it's not just Iris complaining and bitching about something that's not working. It's a universal voice, and one of the great ways to do that is poetry. And to directly address bullying, there's a fabulous poem that I found online that a woman wrote about one of these young girls that committed suicide, and it's a powerful, simple poem. And that's one of the things that I talk about. You can send this anonymously to someone, and it can really have a huge impact. So part of what I teach people is to get out of their personal drama, their personal voice, and to find a universal voice, a universal expression. Because if you're really needing to confront somebody on something, it's a universal challenge. It's not necessarily, even though it feels personal, find the universal, the big picture voice. And that's one of the things that poetry allows us to do. So like with the verbal abuse poem, it really confronts verbal abuse in a universal way. So it doesn't sound like, Iris or Eleanor sending somebody a letter personally.
Right. I know that, and you, I'm sure, know especially that many of these awards that are given to people on plaques and everything are so expensive to apply for and to get them. But most of these awards, of course, speak to people's egos, where your anonymous awards seem to be all about giving secretly for the joy of the experience. And I believe that's so important. But question is, because everybody's about the dollar, how affordable are these honoring and sassy awards that you send anonymously? Can you give us an example?
Yes, so what I do is say for example, you want to send your best friend a lovable laughter award because she's just got the greatest laugh.
Right.
So, okay, $13 is all it costs, and that includes the shipping. So what I do when you order it is I customize it with their name on it, print it on beautiful, colorful award paper, and put it in the mail in a big cardboard envelope. Very impressive to receive, very fun, with some other fun stuff about anonymous expressions and what we're all about. And so all of my awards are $13. And then for some people who really can't afford that, I will send email awards. They don't have the name on them. They're like just a JPEG. But I will send a lot of the awards, especially caregiver awards, which are so important to me, for like $2 via email. And in the subject line, I put gratitude delivered here.
Okay.
And people will generally open it.
Oh, that's lovely.
I generally don't send the sassy ones that way, but I certainly do the honoring ones. So it's very affordable. I was looking online for different caregiver awards, and I found one through one organization that if you make a $300 donation, that they will send an award to a caregiver that you know. And
Wow.
I thought, that's crazy, because there are so many caregivers out there who need and deserve to be acknowledged.
And I think that's so wonderful. And I don't want to embarrass you, but I do want to read some of the accolades that people and your clients have said about you. May I do so, please?
You may, please.
Okay. The first person said, perfect for our serious executives and their families, powerful fun. So you did. It seems like you have such wonderful accolades. Here's another one. Thanks for bringing so much laughter to our boring meetings. Another one is many employees have their awards framed in their offices. Seeing these keeps everyone's sunny sides up. Another one from another client is when everyone gets applause after getting their award, it brings so much awesome positive recognition and fun energy. And another, I don't know, lady or gentleman, but these are just anonymous expressions. Laughter is the best medicine. Thanks for a great show. Another one is receiving my award, getting a standing ovation from my community was thrilling. It was a generous and exciting surprise. These awards are a great way to bring the funny truth to the surface that some people in the office needed to hear. And I bet you that's so serious as well. Because you're in the workforce. Let's say you're in an office. You have coworkers, and let's face it, not everybody's going to love everybody. You have someone who talks a lot. You have someone that gossips. You have someone that smells bad. Whatever the situation is, not everybody's going to get along, and not everybody's hunky-dory. And sending one of these either honoring or classy or sassy awards, can sometimes do the trick without getting into a confrontation verbally.
That's so very true. And I have to laugh when I hear you say that, because the very first Sassy Award I ever wrote, I believe, if I remember correctly, was Dastardly Dirty Old Man. Every office has one.
I love it.
Alone, and we get tired of it.
Yeah. I'm curious about knowing if I could send an honoring award from your website or from your site and choose not to be anonymous. Is that an option?
Absolutely. I have little gift notes that I can enclose, and a lot of times, like for Mother's Day, people will send a Grandmother of Honor award to their grandmother, and I'll enclose a little gift note, with the children's names on it. So absolutely, people can send honoring awards, or even some of the funny, sassy awards. Yesterday, I sent a cantankerous old coot award to a guy from one of his buddies, and he definitely wanted to be acknowledged for sending his friend this award. I'm like, great.
Good.
He goes, my friend's got a great sense of humor. So it can be sent anonymously or not. And yet my purpose is to promote anonymous giving, because really, I think, Eleanor, unconditional love is really where we're all headed. And when we can learn to give unconditionally without recognition, just for the joy of someone receiving an elegant surprise, that's really what it's all about for me these days.
You're right. And, basically, unconditional love, it's almost like then everybody has to start behaving like animals, like dogs, because dogs give you that unconditional love. They don't care how much you weigh, what you look like, your breath, how you smell, It's like an animal, really. I mean, people, I hate to say it, it's true though. Our dogs give us the most unconditional love. And if we can do that through your beautiful poetry and your beautiful gift of a sassy or classy award, an honoring award, it would be such a nicer place to live. Honestly, it's true. You know, people get very hung up on a lot of things lately. I mean, this is the society we're living in. We live in a very angry society. We do. And we need a little bit more of what you do. Let me ask you something, though. What kinds of information do you share on your prolific blog at Anonymous Expressions?
Well, all kinds of stuff. Like one of the articles that I get a lot of response to is I wrote a little article about verbal abuse and healing your inner child. And, of course, it's got my famous poem called Shame on You about verbal abuse. But I just really believe that a lot of our inner healing has to do with our little wounded inner child. And I just think a lot of our challenging emotions have a cumulative effect, and it's the inner child who doesn't have a voice to really speak up and protect themselves. And so I talk a lot about the greater challenges like bullying and gossip and verbal abuse, the things that prejudice, the things that really need a serious confrontation like an honesty letter. And I give people some examples of how they can confront the issue and, again, do it safely and effectively and not get involved. And there's something lovely to be said for getting a message in writing that nails the truth and keeps you out of the equation. And people can read it over and over again. It's so important. You know, I had an interesting thing day before yesterday. A lady called me, and someone had sent her my Morbid Martyrdom Award. And
what is that about?
Said, you know,
what was that about, that award?
Well, it's about, you know, taking care of others instead of taking care of yourself.
Oh, okay.
And, you know, it's just a very, very powerful award. And she said, a lot of my friends have told me that I need to get my kids out of my house. I need to make this change. And yet, there was something about getting this anonymously that really changed it for me. And we really had a fabulous conversation about it. And I think, of course, you know, that's a real challenge for a lot of women. And if you've got a second, I wouldn't mind reading it to you. It's a very simple and short award.
Please, thank you. I love to hear it.
So, Morbid Martyrdom Award presented to, with the person's name, overdoing, overgiving instead of really living. You allow your family to run your life, bringing you tremendous strife. Let others take care of themselves once and for all, while you wake up to your joy's inner call. Do it now for one and all. We support you to have the nerve to give to yourself the caring you deserve.
That's very lovely.
Short, sweet, simple, to the point.
Yeah, very lovely. Can you give an example?
And, you know, I hope...
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was just going to say that I helped her a little bit in writing them a letter and, you know, setting some clear boundaries, giving them a date. And one of the things that came up, because I think martyrdom is such a big issue, especially for women, I told her one of the things I realized with my codependence, with my kids, if you will, is that I want to be their hero. I've always been their hero. And I want to pull them out of jams, and I want to rescue them, and I want to be the hero. And yet there comes a point in time where I finally recognize that's my trip, that's my thing, that's, you know, what I get out of it. However, it's not beneficial to my kids. They need to grow up, they need to be responsible, they need to try and fail. And it really helped me realize that, yeah, my ticket punch was I want to be the hero, but it's not in their best interest. Does that make sense to you?
It absolutely does. And I think that also, I am very close with my two children, and my daughter lives like a minute away from me, and my son does live here with me. He's, you know, embarking on a new journey in his life and needed to, you know, of course, save some money and come back to home, which is fine. But you're right,
Sure.
though. I think at a certain point in life, you have to kind of not wash your hands, but kind of say okay, or you have to learn to say no. I have never, ever learned that word. All I know is sure, yes, okay, no problem. But does come a time where you have to